Welcome to episode 384 of the Postal Hub podcast. I'm Ian Kerr. In this episode, I'll chat with Guy Pacheco. Guy is Chief Financial Officer at CTT, Portugal's national postal operator. And we're going to talk about CTT's transformation. This interview was recorded at the International Delivery Benchmarking Workshop, which was held in June this year. For more information on this workshop and the other events that are hosted by Derek Osborne, you can visit plefora.co.uk. That's plefora.co.uk. I'll stick a link on the episode page in case you've missed that. So, coming up in just a moment, Guy Pacheco, Chief Financial Officer at CTT. I'm joined by Guy Pacheco. Guy is the CTT CFO, the CFO of CTT. We're going to talk about the transformation of CTT. Let's start with at the very beginning. How did the process start? What made you all start to think about transformation?
It's difficult to point a single moment. I think 2017, in a way, marked a turning point. CTT was a privatized company during the sovereign crisis, debt crisis in Portugal. It was one of the commitments, a number of efficiency measures. And at the same time, the economy was recovering because we suffered a lot. And as the economy recovered, mail recovered as well. And the company enjoyed very mild declines of mail. At some point in the end of 2016, mail declines resumed double digits, so close to 10% mail decline. And at the same time, one of the commitments of the IPO was to launch a bank that was a startup at the time with huge losses. And it was a very difficult moment in terms of interest rate environment. And those two things coupled with new regulations on the USO, the regulator issued new quality standards that were the strictest in Europe and remove all the pricing lever from CTT. So it was almost impossible to recover any of the mail decline in pricing. And that all coupled led to two profit warnings in CTT and somewhat pushed all the stakeholders to demand the management to make more formal commitments to transforming the company. So 17 not being key turning point, it should be around the time that management started changing the views and committing with a deeper transformation program.
So tell us about some of the key pillars that are underpinning this transformation at CTT.
I think it's quite similar everywhere, but we wanted to grow through diversification. And for us, that means double down on the efforts of leveraging the wave of growth of e-commerce in Iberia, was to turn our banking startup in a profitable business and also to reinvent mail operations. As you all live that daily, we need to continue to reinvent operations and also to redesign what was our USO. Our concession was coming to an end in the end of 2020 and was this wave of negotiation with the Portuguese government in order to revamp or at least to rebase what was the USO at the time.
Tell us about the geographical situation then, because Portugal has a big neighbour in Spain. How has this pan-Iberian expansion played into the transformation of CTT?
Yeah, it was key as in Portugal, the parcel market at that time was smaller than the mail market. We were diversifying to a smaller market with lower incremental margins and at the same time losing share because we don't have the same dominant position in parcels than in mail. So we needed a deeper market to grow. Spain is the fourth largest market of e-commerce in Europe. Our economies are highly integrated. We have cross-border volumes in the country, 30% is with a neighbor country. And as such, it was key for us to do that move. It was key for us also to design our network to be B2C ready, because it was the area we saw the fastest growth. So we designed the network to be catering to B2C. It was important for us to have a national coverage because we have 100% of the postal codes covering in Spain. That allow us to gain share rapidly and economies of scale, and also protect our own market because logistically, Iberia is pretty much the same space. Our biggest customers look at Iberia that way. So right now, 50% of our customers buy Portugal and Spain together. It was also a move to defend our market. And at the same time, regaining share in Portugal was also important for us to continue to regain scale in the routes that were losing mail. At the same time, it was also important for technology because you used Spain as a greenfield operation in order to test that a number of things that we did in parcels. And with that, technology was another key pillar of our strategy. We invested heavily in all our value chain. We introduced dynamic sorting. We introduced new distribution apps and revamped all the customer experience because we knew also to be effective in the B2C market, we needed to change the experience. And the experience in a company that are normally not very customer-centric, and that leads to people as well, as we needed to do change management at scale and also acquire new profiles because we wanted to make the company more customer-centric, and that meant to bring in marketeers or from other sectors to bring this customer centricity to the company, and also technological profiles as we are progressively a much more intensive, technological intensive company. And there is a number of challenges, namely bridging what someone commented yesterday, the IT and the OT world, because the synchronization of the two are paramount for us to achieve productivity gains.
Acquisitions and partnerships have been part of the expansion across Iberia. Can you share a few details of those partnerships and acquisitions?
Yeah, first of all, I'm a firm believer that M&A is a competitive advantage. If you build capabilities to search the market in order to do compelling business case, but also acquiring capabilities faster than developing them internally. And with that framework, we first acquired a business process operation because at some point for us, it was clear that in B2B mail, it was important to gain share of wallet inside our customers' houses, and BPO around the mail value chain was key. Then on financial services, we did a partnership of bank assurance with Generali. Our bank, most postal banks are savings bank at heart. We are not different. And Generali, being the largest financial manager in Europe, was a key partner for us to do a bank assurance deal where we will place their products, saving products in our retail stores. We also did a small swap of capital in the bank of below 9%. And then in logistics, we bought a customers integrator because we believe deeply in the cross-border phenomenon. We are very heavily invested in Asia to Europe flows, and the customs plays a role there where we can give more efficient pricing and more quality of service to our customers. So we bought the largest custom integrator in Spain, and that is also present in 15 other countries in Europe. And lastly, we did a partnership with our hosts here. We signed the JV with DHL for Iberia. At the same time, we acquired their assets in Portugal, as we signed a JV to have a joint approach to the Iberia market. We have very complementary positions, as We offer DHL the B2C efficiency, access to the Asian flows. DHL gives to us access to inter-European flows that are approximately the same size. And also they bring to us B2B capabilities. They're very strong in B2B capabilities in Iberia. That is the area that we still lag, and we can benefit from their knowledge and skills on that area.
One last question before we wrap up. You've mentioned insurance and parcels, cross-border, customs clearance. But let's go back to letters and let's talk about something that seems almost paradoxical, letters and the future. What's the future hold for CTT and what's the future hold for letters at CTT?
Let's see, we in the meantime, with all of this that we discussed, we are growing in the last 5 years more than 8% per year and accelerating. So we are now pretty much a growing company because we have a portfolio of business between parcels and the bank. Parcels are now larger than mail within our operations, and also because we have almost 50% in the end of 2026 of our revenues coming off abroad. So we have basically a growing company. We aim to be the e-commerce platform, the leader of e-commerce logistics in Iberia in the medium term. Where letters fit in all of this? I think we are very proud to be the USO providers in Portugal. The USO brings us a number of critical assets: the brand, the reputation, the trust, and also the retail base and the density of the network. Our concession contract will end at the end of 2028. At that point, as in many other countries, the country needs to do a reflection of what kind of USO they want to have at that point. That will entail, obviously, access to the network and the product scope revisions, and also with economic things that come along it. But if everything aligns with the stakeholders of CTT interests vis-à-vis the government, will be very keen to continue to be the USO provider, because I think USO is not our growth engine anymore, but it brings us a number of assets that are still key for us, and it's a key part of our DNA. We are a company used to provide public service, and it's a key point of our cultural within CTT, and we want to keep that.
Guy Pacheco, CFO at CTT, thank you very much for joining us today. Coming soon on the Postal Hub podcast, Joao Lopez from Block It. We've got POS Malaysia, Geopost, Peter Summers is coming back, Alan Barry, and many more. Very interesting. Some would say great, some would see the best guests on the Postal Hub podcast over the next few weeks and months. Subscribe to the Postal Hub podcast in your favourite podcast platform. Leave a 5-star rating while you're there. Not a 4-star. Somebody had the cheek to leave a 4-star rating on one of the podcast platforms. How dare you? 5-star ratings, please, on any and all of the podcast platforms, if you please. Subscribe to the podcast so you get every episode downloaded to the device of your choosing. And you can also subscribe to our newsletters. Go to thepostalhub.com and you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter that comes out whenever there's a new episode, or you can subscribe to the Daily Delivery Digest, which is, unsurprisingly, a digest of all the biggest news from the delivery world, published every day. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow the Postal Hub podcast on LinkedIn, and it's better than a lot of the AI-generated slop that's out there. If you want to email me, my email address is ian@thepostalhub.com. I'm Ian Kerr. Thanks for listening in, and I look forward to your company next time on the Postal Hub podcast.